We have here a fantastic array of speakers. First of all, I'd like to ask all of you in a quick nutshell, why did you first become interested in researching children's play? I mean, you know, there's so many other things that people might actually pay good money for or be interested in. I'm going to start with, who shall I pick on? Rachel.
Yeah, good question. I guess the thing is, play is so important to childhood. It's so intrinsic. It's something that perhaps we just all take for granted. And I think knowing the benefits of play and the fact that it is just such what we think of as a childhood phenomenon, but it's not really. And just, yeah, and I guess also the opportunities that children have or don't have, and how maybe we can make it a bit more of an equal playing field, specifically coming from sort of a mental health and psychological perspective.
Mental health, equal playing field, you can make a difference. Helen, you've been doing this for a while. What's your reason?
Yeah, for me, so, you know, I spent 4 years studying my undergraduate psychology degree and then another 4 years doing PhD. And through all of that time, I hardly ever heard the word play. And then I researched mental health for years. And then I became a mum and realised that what children do nearly all the time is play. And I couldn't quite believe that it was missing from all of that kind of child development work. And, you know, we learn so much about how children learn language and, you know, children's social development, and play just feels like it's missing from that. So, yeah, for me, it felt like, you know, there's this big gap in terms of kind of psychological research. We need to be thinking about play much more, and where does play fit in? So that was my motivation.
Fantastic. Yeah, where does it fit in? Ben, what inspired you to research?
Because it's just one of the most utterly fascinating human behaviours that I think there is. And children are one of the most marginalised groups of humans that there is. And researching a thing that's really important to them and then telling other people about it sort of gives them a voice, really, and enables more of that ACE stuff to go on. And that's it.
Fantastic. Kate, what brought you into this?
Well, because Michael told me to, and but also
that's work, not play, Kate.
But also because to me, children playing and children's play just sounds really obvious, and so I wanted to know, how do you convince other people that it's all true? How do you find the proof? And so that's what got me into this maze of research.
It is, and it is a deep, deep maze, isn't it? Anna, what brought you in, teaching up there at Leeds Beckett?
Oh, you've said it. No, I think that you asked, your first question was why did you get involved? I think my first response was, why not? You know, it is just one of the most fantastic things. But I think it's probably because it's all I know. I've worked with children at play since I was 12 years old. Which is crazy if you think about it. Who in their right mind would leave their child with a 12-year-old? But it is all I know. So my whole life has been involved in play in one way or another, and particularly play work. So I think it came naturally.
Oh, Anna, that's beautiful. Wendy?
All of the above, and I kind of came across play when I fell into a job as a play worker on an adventure playground when I was a student, and so started studying it. But all the stuff that was around to study it then didn't quite what I was seeing the children do wasn't there in the research. So all the research was like the stuff that interests adults, like what children learn and how they develop and how play helps, all of those kind of the instrumental value, if you like. I was fascinated by the nonsense and the sheer frivolity of playing. So once I discovered the kinds of ways of researching play from that perspective, I've flown and loved all of that. But also what Ben said about children just being a marginalized group, and particularly the politics of kids not being able to play out anymore. Cars are more important than kids.
Oh, yes. I think somebody's just put that into the chat. Yes, cars are more cars shouldn't be more important than kids. Why are they in our country? We had lots of questions, and we don't have much time because, of course, you invite a load of researchers to speak, and we all speak just a little bit longer than we mean to. One of the things that a lot of you touched on is about risk-taking play. With neurodivergent children who need more special needs, is the specifics that coming out of your research that you'd say this is why risky play is particularly important, or a solution that you could give a governor trying to support a school with children who are neurodivergent, who have specific physical needs? Anybody want to jump in with that?
I'm happy to talk if
Michael?
as always, Kath, I'm always happy to talk. Yeah, and in OPAL we have worked with all sorts of schools, including a lot of special needs schools, and I've worked with lots of schools in different countries as well. I think the one thing that I've learned is the need for play is so biological, it's so evolutionary, that it exists in every single child. And I like what Wendy said, let's throw this phrase away about children don't know how to play. It's adults don't know how to allow children to play. Yes, if you're talking about risky play, there are things that when you're working with children who have different ranges of ability to self-regulate, you need to consider more deeply. But every child needs to take risks. Every child needs to learn some way of self-regulating. Every child needs freedom of choice. So, these are just things that exist on a scale. And I think that the message about value, what do we believe as adults as important as in childhood is our starting point. And the difficulty should not be the finishing point for us.
Beautiful, beautifully put, Michael. Should not be the finishing point. I'm going to ask you in just a very pithy sentence, I'm going to ask, what one piece of advice would you give? Like, we've got in the literature review, got a whole range of recommendations to people. As Michael said, one of the things we hope is that in 20 years time, we won't have to keep justifying why play is important. We spent hundreds of millions of years as a human species having play as the mechanism to transform squalling infants into neuroplastic, interesting, collaborative human beings. What one piece of advice would you give to a new head teacher or a governor or somebody who's been given strategic responsibility for play, say in government? Ben, can I start with you?
Thanks, Kath. I was fortunate to be the son of a childminder and spent most of my young adolescence helping her out, and she was just amazing. She was the most amazing sort of play worker I've ever seen, really. She just got it. And I said, Mum, what's your kind of philosophy for working with these kids then? And she said, oh, well, it's simple, isn't it? You give them just enough rope that they can't hang themselves, and you keep giving them a bit more as they get more competent. And I just really like that. I think that's about a sensitive response to children's play. You give them a bit, see how much they can handle, give them a bit more based on what they're telling you they can handle. You won't go far wrong.
Fantastic. Does anybody else want to jump in? Wendy?
Yes, I'd like to say just watch, actually, and see what the children do already, because what I knew, but also what came out of the research was that adults actually don't really watch the children play. They will stop, they will be anxious and they will wish to control it, but they don't watch. And there is so much already going on in even barren playgrounds. So one of the examples is, where the paint's worn away off a long drain pipe. This is from Mark Armitage's work. For generations of children holding onto the drain pipe for run-out games and hide-and-seek games and things like that. These special places in the playground, a drain pipe. Pay attention to what's important to the children already, so that you don't unwittingly get rid of it in the name of improvement.
Okay, I'm going to go to Rachel and then come to Michael and then to Helen. Rachel?
Sorry, what would I say to the head teacher? I would say probably reflect on your childhood. Think about what it is, your favourite play experience as a child. What was it? What was it about that? And are we giving children the freedom and the space that we were given as children, in order to sort of explore our full potential? So
Fantastic. Actually, Michael, I'm going to come to you last, because then you can launch the report and then we'll close. Kate, Anna, very quickly, and then I'll come to you, Helen.
To a head teacher, I would say, and trying to facilitate amazing playtime in school, you don't have to do it all alone, and don't forget your parents.
Anna?
Yeah, I think kind of feeding off Kate, it is a whole school approach, but I think my first and last thought, and I think this is quite a nice way of bringing this to a close, is read the literature review. Start by read that and see where it takes you, and get in touch if you have any questions or need any support.
Helen, you beautifully started us off this evening. Can you close us up with like one piece of advice you would give to a new head teacher or governor?
Yeah, I think the thing for me is so much of what we want for our children in terms of physical health and mental health and learning and social relationships can be achieved through play. And we work so hard to help children in all of these different ways, but often in ways that children don't enjoy or aren't natural to them. So wouldn't it be wonderful if we could help children with all of these things just by taking a step back and giving them more opportunity to play? It just feels like a no-brainer to me. You know, just give them more space, let them play more, they will be happier and they will be healthier. And probably the people supervising the adults around them will be less stressed. Everybody wins.
Thank you, Helen. I think that beautifully spirals it up. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Anna, Kate. Thank you so much, Ben. Michael, launch that report.
Right, so my pithy thing is, given all the benefits that you've heard about and given all of the stuff you're going to read in the literature review, is to a senior leader, why would you not have a strategic approach to 20% of your school's delivery? I mean, that just seems like an absolute no-brainer. It's 1.4 years of your children's life at school. Why would you not have a strategic approach to that?